Let me ask you to think back to this morning when you first got out of bed and put your feet on the floor. Did your legs feel ready to take on the day, solid and dependable like always? Or was there already a whisper of tiredness in your thighs, a subtle heaviness that made you pause for a second before stepping forward, or perhaps that small wobble that reminds you things aren't quite the same anymore? If you're over 60 and you've been quietly wondering why your legs seem to tire faster these days, maybe they feel shaky after standing at the stove for 10 minutes, or you find yourself gripping the banister a little tighter going down the stairs, or you just don't have the same spring in your step when you walk to the corner store, then what I'm going to explain could be the gentle answer you've been hoping for. This change in how your legs feel isn't because you're not trying hard enough with exercise, it's not a lack of motivation, and it's not simply the unavoidable price of adding more birthdays. Very often, the main hidden reason is something sitting innocently in your fruit bowl or tucked away in the refrigerator right now. And for more than 20 years, I've spent my days working with older adults, helping them hold on to their strength, move with confidence, and keep doing the things they love without fear of losing their balance or falling. I've listened to so many stories that follow the same path. Folks who used to be full of energy, who took long walks with their spouse, played with grandchildren in the yard, tended their garden beds, or managed their home without a second thought, start noticing their legs letting them down. They feel unsteady when they stand too long at the kitchen counter, they hesitate before stepping onto an uneven sidewalk, they worry more about slippery floors or dark hallways at night, and almost every single time when I ask about their daily eating, they light up a little and say, "Oh, I make sure to eat fruit. I eat healthy." That one simple sentence is usually the doorway into seeing what's really going on behind the scenes. The fruit available to us today is quite different from what our parents or grandparents picked up at the market. Years ago, fruits were generally smaller, often tartar, and grown with more focus on natural nutrition than on intense sweetness. Now, through careful breeding and farming, fruits come bigger, juicier, and packed with far more natural sugar because that's what people reach for when they shop. But after we cross into our 60s, our bodies process that extra sugar in a noticeably different way. Our muscles start responding more strongly, and for longer, to insulin, the hormone that helps manage blood sugar levels. Our nerves, which carry the signals telling our leg muscles exactly when and how to move or steady themselves, take more time to recover from any kind of strain or imbalance, and any rise or fall in blood sugar feels more pronounced and lingers longer than it did before, creating extra stress on the whole body. The good news is that learning about this doesn't have to feel scary. It actually hands you real control to make things better. Over the next 20 minutes or so, as we sit here together talking like old friends, I'm going to clearly name the 7 fruits that most commonly and quietly drain strength from legs in people over 60, explain in everyday language exactly why they have that effect, and share a straightforward, easy-to-follow plan that lets you keep enjoying fruit while giving your muscles and balance the support they need instead of unintentionally working against them. Before we move forward, I'd appreciate it if you'd take just a moment to type a comment with your age and your favorite fruit. It's a small step, but it helps keep your attention focused on your own body and how it might be reacting as we go through this together. Once you understand how certain fruits influence your insulin response, your nerve signals, and ultimately the strength and steadiness in your legs, you'll have the clear knowledge to decide what to cut back on, what to adjust in small ways, and which changes can bring back more reliable legs in just a few short weeks. Let me try to paint a picture of what's actually taking place inside your body after the age of 60, explained simply so it makes sense without any medical jargon getting in the way. Think of the larger muscles in your thighs and around your hips as soft, absorbent sponges that are built to take in energy from the foods you eat. Back when you were in your 40s or 50s, you ate a piece of fruit. The natural sugars entered your bloodstream, insulin came along quickly to help direct that energy, and your muscles soaked it up efficiently, keeping themselves fueled and ready for the next activity, whether that was walking to the car, climbing a few steps, or standing while chatting with a neighbor. The process happened smoothly and without any noticeable effort. But as we move into our 60s, 70s, and beyond, those sponges lose a little of their softness. They stiffen up slightly. Insulin doesn't clear from the blood as quickly anymore. It lingers longer than it used to. As a result, the muscles aren't able to pull in the energy as effectively. The thigh muscles and hip muscles happen to be particularly sensitive to how insulin behaves. When insulin stays elevated for an extended time after you've eaten, it sends a signal to the body to store that energy rather than use it to repair tiny daily damage or maintain the muscle tissue. Over months and then years, this speeds up a process called sarcopenia, the slow, age-related loss of muscle mass and power that makes everyday movements feel more difficult, like pushing yourself up from an armchair, lifting your knees to step onto a curb, or keeping your balance when you turn around quickly in the kitchen. Researchers at the University of California followed 480 adults closely for 10 full years. They regularly measured the size and strength of thigh muscles and compared those numbers to patterns of blood sugar after meals. What they found was striking. The people who experienced frequent sharp spikes in blood sugar after eating lost muscle in their thighs 27% faster than those whose blood sugar rose more gently and returned to normal levels more quickly. I know this might feel surprising or even a little hard to accept at first, because for most of our lives, we've been told that fruit is one of the healthiest choices we can make. You've probably included it in your meals for decades, thinking you were doing your body a real favor. But the reality is that sugar, even the natural sugar found in fruit, can gradually interfere with the way muscles repair and maintain themselves when it arrives in large, rapid bursts, especially as our bodies become less adaptable with age. If you've ever finished a sweet piece of fruit or a fruit-based snack and then, not too long afterward, noticed your legs feeling unusually tired, heavy, or weak, like they suddenly didn't want to cooperate as well, feel free to type the word tired in the comments right now so I know this description is matching up with what you've experienced yourself. What adds another layer of difficulty here is that so many popular fruits are rich in potassium, which we all know is an important nutrient. Bananas are probably the most well-known source, but pineapple, mango, oranges, and cantaloupe carry a good amount as well. Potassium plays a key role in helping nerves send clear signals so your muscles can contract and relax at exactly the right moments. Without enough potassium, you'd feel weak or prone to cramping. But when you take in too much of it day after day, mainly from fruit, without the right balance from other parts of your diet, it can disrupt the delicate electrical balance that nerves rely on to function properly. Picture your nerves as fine electrical wires threaded throughout your body. If the voltage or current gets thrown off balance because of excess potassium, the messages traveling down those wires to your leg muscles arrive slowly, weakly, or sometimes not in perfect sync. Many older adults who eat high potassium fruits regularly start noticing their legs feeling heavier as the afternoon wears on. They experience more frequent cramps, perhaps in the calves during the night or after sitting for a while, or certain parts of their legs feel oddly numb or asleep, even when medical tests show good circulation. A study published in 2019 in the Journal of Geriatric Medicine examined this specifically in people over 65. Those who consumed large amounts of potassium primarily from daily fruit reported leg cramping about 18% more often than those who kept their potassium intake more moderate. The point is that something that feels perfectly normal and beneficial when you're 35 or 45 can quietly begin to work against your leg function by the time you're 70. Then there's the concept of glycemic load, which simply means how quickly and how high a food pushes your blood sugar upward. Certain fruits like grapes, mangoes, and watermelon taste refreshing and light, but they release their sugar into your bloodstream very rapidly. Eating even a small serving of grapes can send blood sugar climbing faster than many conventional desserts would. That quick surge creates some low-level inflammation in the body, makes it more difficult for muscles to repair the small amounts of daily wear from normal movement, and slows down how fast nerves recover from ordinary use. When this pattern repeats over several months, you gradually lose power specifically in the hip muscles and the quadriceps, the large muscles at the front of your thighs that act as stabilizers and help you stay balanced, push forward when walking, or steady yourself when you shift direction. Researchers working with Harvard followed 600 adults for 5 years, keeping detailed records of their fruit consumption and testing their leg strength at regular intervals. They discovered that those who ate higher amounts of these fast-rising fruits showed roughly a 15% decline in leg muscle strength during that time, and this drop occurred even when their physical activity levels stayed roughly the same. One habit that makes the effect even stronger is eating fruit by itself first thing in the morning when your stomach has been empty overnight, or blending large quantities into smoothies. Both allow the sugar to enter the blood even more quickly because there's no other food to slow the process down. Fiber is another important piece that often gets missed. When you eat whole fruit with its natural fiber intact, that fiber works like a natural speed limiter, slowing the rate at which sugar gets absorbed so your muscles receive a steady, manageable flow of energy instead of a sudden flood. Unfortunately, many of the ways people eat fruit these days remove or greatly reduce that protective fiber. Fruit juice has almost none left after the pressing process. Dried fruits such as raisins, dates, or apricots concentrate the sugar while cutting the fiber per bite significantly. Smoothies break the fiber into such small pieces that it no longer slows absorption the way chewing whole fruit does. It's similar to trying to water a thirsty plant by turning the hose on full blast instead of using a gentle trickle. The plant gets overwhelmed, can't take it all in properly, and much of the water simply runs off. When your muscles get hit with that kind of rapid sugar load, insulin spikes sharply, the repair processes get delayed or interrupted, and fatigue settles into your legs, often showing up as that heavy, drained sensation by mid-afternoon or evening. In a 2021 study conducted in Europe, researchers followed 320 older adults and compared how their bodies responded to fruit with good fiber versus fruit with low or reduced fiber. The group eating the lower fiber versions had post-meal insulin spikes that were 40% higher, and after 3 months they showed a clear, measurable decrease in quadriceps strength compared to the group eating fiber-rich fruit. This is precisely why paying close attention to fiber content, the timing of when you eat fruit, and what you eat it alongside becomes so valuable. Most standard nutrition guidance doesn't go into these practical day-to-day details. There's also something known as anabolic resistance that becomes more prominent after 60. It means that muscle tissue grows less responsive to the protein you eat, so even when you're including good sources of protein in your meals, frequent sugar spikes can interfere with how effectively that protein gets used for repair and maintenance. Think of it like trying to plant a row of flowers in soil that's been covered with a layer of concrete. The protein is the nourishing seed trying to take root, but the repeated sugar surges create that hard barrier, preventing proper growth. Researchers at Boston University examined this carefully and found that older adults who had regular sharp increases in blood sugar after meals showed muscle protein synthesis, the process of building and repairing muscle tissue, at a rate 32% slower than those who kept their insulin responses more controlled. When you bring together all these factors, the higher sugar content in modern fruits, the high potassium levels in many favorite varieties, the loss of fiber through common preparation methods, the natural shifts in insulin sensitivity that come with age, and this growing resistance to protein, you end up with a combination that steadily and quietly weakens leg muscles and balance without most people ever making the connection to their daily fruit choices. If any of this feels familiar, if your legs sometimes feel heavy, unsteady, or more tired than expected after you've had fruit, please type the word balance in the comments so I know you're seeing your own situation reflected here. Now, you might be wondering why certain seniors seem to eat fruit regularly and still maintain strong, steady legs well into their later years. The difference almost always comes down to strategy rather than chance. They eat fruit in ways that minimize the downsides, often without even realizing the specific reasons it's working well for them. And that's exactly the practical strategy I want to teach you next. Let me share two real examples from people I've worked with closely. Margaret was 71 years old, very independent, and genuinely proud of how carefully she ate. Every single morning, she prepared a large, colorful fruit bowl filled with sliced bananas, a generous handful of grapes, chunks of fresh pineapple, and diced mango. She believed it gave her a healthy, energizing start. But by early afternoon, usually around 2 or 3 o'clock, her legs would begin to feel weak and unreliable. She started avoiding stairs whenever she could. She steadied herself by holding onto furniture as she moved through her living room or hallway, and deep inside she was beginning to accept that perhaps this was simply what aging looked like. When she first sat down with me in my office, she looked across the desk with real frustration and confusion. She said, "Dr. Kent, I honestly don't understand. I eat so much healthy food, fresh fruit every day, lots of it. Why do my legs feel so heavy and tired all the time?" We decided to try a structured approach I call the Fruit Protocol, which is really just an easy way to remember focusing on smart timing, thoughtful food pairing, and reasonable portion sizes. We removed the very high sugar fruits she had been relying on and replaced them with small portions of lower sugar options like fresh berries and crisp green apples, but always eaten after she had some protein in her meal. We weren't taking fruit away completely. We were just changing how and when she enjoyed it. 3 weeks later, she came back almost glowing with surprise. Her legs felt noticeably stronger and more dependable. She could climb stairs without needing to pause halfway up. She walked longer distances around her neighborhood without feeling exhausted, and she told me with genuine emotion, "For the first time in a long while, I feel like I can actually trust my legs to support me again." When we remeasured, her quadriceps strength, the power in the front thigh muscles, had increased by 18%. Her balance scores improved by 22%. And on a simple scale from 1 to 10 where she rated her daily fatigue, she went from a 7 down to a 3. Those numbers translated into real changes. She felt more independent, less worried, and more like herself. Robert was 74 and had a morning ritual he looked forward to. He'd blend a big smoothie with a whole banana, plenty of mango chunks, a generous pour of orange juice, and some yogurt to make it smooth and creamy. It tasted wonderful and felt like a healthy way to begin the day. But by mid-morning, often before lunch, his legs would start to give out. He'd feel them weaken to the point where he had to sit down sooner than he wanted, even after only light activity around the house. He kept telling himself it was just age catching up and there wasn't much to be done about it. When we discussed his routine, we made a few targeted adjustments. We stopped the morning smoothie entirely because it was delivering too much sugar too quickly first thing in the day. Instead, we shifted a modest portion of fruit to come after his lunch meal, always paired with protein, and we emphasized berries that naturally kept more of their fiber. Within 4 weeks, he was amazed at the difference. He could go out for 30-minute walks every day without needing to stop and rest. He managed stairs without leaning heavily on the handrail, and he described his leg energy as having improved by about 60% compared to before. When we checked the underlying measures, his muscle protein synthesis rate, the speed at which his body was building and repairing muscle, had increased by 25% from his starting baseline. Stories like Margaret's and Robert's make the same important point very clear. The goal isn't to eliminate fruit from your life completely. It's about choosing the right kinds of fruit, eating them in sensible amounts, and timing them thoughtfully so they support your body rather than quietly draining it. So now let me walk you through the exact protocol I guide my patients to follow, something I've named the Fruit Protocol because the word itself makes the main steps easy to recall. The F stands for fruit pairing, which means always eating your fruit together with a source of protein or healthy fat. This simple combination dramatically slows down sugar absorption and helps shield your muscles from those sharp insulin rises that can interfere with repair. A study done at the University of Sydney showed that when people ate berries alongside Greek yogurt, the insulin spike after the meal dropped by a full 50% compared to eating the berries by themselves. You can do something as straightforward as having a small handful of blueberries with about 10 almonds, or stirring a few sliced strawberries into half a cup of cottage cheese. The very same berries eaten alone, especially on an empty stomach, could cause enough of an insulin reaction to disrupt muscle maintenance over time. U stands for understand timing And this single shift often creates the biggest noticeable improvement for many people. The best time to eat fruit is after you've already had a meal that includes protein and some fat, never on an empty stomach or right before other foods. When fruit follows a meal, the blood sugar rise stays much gentler, your energy levels remain more even throughout the day, and your leg muscles are better protected from the negative effects. So instead of starting your day with a fruit smoothie, consider having eggs scrambled with some vegetables or a piece of toast with a little avocado. Save those berries for an afternoon snack paired with a few nuts or a spoonful of plain yogurt. That change in timing alone can leave your legs feeling lighter and more energetic from morning through evening. When people follow the fruit protocol consistently, the improvements tend to unfold in a predictable, encouraging way. During the first week, many notice a subtle but welcome increase in daily energy, and their legs start feeling a little lighter right after meals, instead of weighed down or sluggish. By the end of the second week, that dragging fatigue begins to lift noticeably, and they feel more secure taking short walks around the house or neighborhood without second-guessing their balance. Moving into weeks 3 and 4, the changes become easier to feel and measure. Climbing a flight of stairs feels less daunting, standing for longer periods at the sink or counter doesn't tire them out as quickly, and overall mobility starts feeling more reliable again. After about 4 weeks and continuing onward, the gains usually settle in for the long haul. Leg strength holds steady or even continues to build slowly. Balance improves in everyday situations like turning or stepping over small obstacles, and the constant worry about falling starts to fade into the background. This kind of progress doesn't come from forcing yourself into more intense exercise routines every day. It comes from thoughtfully stopping the hidden habits that were quietly wearing down your muscles without your knowledge. Before you begin making any changes, I want to be very clear about some important safety considerations. The Fruit Protocol is a helpful dietary strategy aimed at supporting muscle health and mobility, but it is not a medical cure for sarcopenia or any chronic health condition. Never stop taking any medications your doctor has prescribed without first discussing it with them and getting their explicit approval. If you have kidney disease, diabetes, severe insulin resistance, or any other serious medical issue, please consult your physician before adjusting your fruit intake or making other dietary changes. The safest and most effective way to start is slowly and mindfully. Choose one single element of the protocol to focus on first, get comfortable with that adjustment, then gradually add the others. Keep listening closely to what your body tells you through sensations like leg heaviness, unexpected cramps, or shifts in energy levels. Those signals are your best guide to whether the changes are helping. Taking things incrementally and staying attentive helps your body adapt smoothly and minimizes any chance of discomfort.